think streaming live. Stream up. That sound weird. Not normal. Okay. So they try get the initiative. Hey Tony, how you doing? How you feeling? Rested? Good morning. Uh, outside of this optional chart. Ugh, detail. Component. Yeah, Dad. uh, well, it messes you up doing hours. I know that from past experience. Um, and 77. Not which backlog. 77. Just in there. They can never be nullable. Of course. Okay. Progress. Used to being awake for more than 24 hours, but streaming for that. Yes. Yes. Um, I suppose the mental aspect. Well, you got focused. You were code. You were trying to be social. Talk a lot. Uh, and also knowing you can't just turn it off. If you want to hit your goal 24 hours, then of hitting it. I imagine that is a mental aspect to get over. Sorry, talking of sleep, I have had none. So, uh, gotcha. Um, yeah, if you can get in the zone, I suppose coding becomes um, easier. But okay, so where am I? I am things. I have to process that in the middle of a train of thought is challenging. And the longer it goes on, the harder it gets. Yeah, I can imagine. Uh, like I said, you will not catch me doing 24-hour stream. Especially not with it. Maybe if I was gaming and I could stay awake that long, but gaming would be out of the question. We have this, and we We definitely know we sent an initiative, planning initiatives with my first failure at Red Panda, producing collaborators. We sent collaborators here. But we need to know, can we reset the flag, the path planning initiative? Of course, I made this more difficult now. Tell me what partition you got put 9. There you go. That's helpful. Um, so what I need to do here is enjoy the fruit of the labor and bring some my own product. Nice. You enjoy the got things moving. You got things working more. And you'll be good. Fine. So with this, I've set up 3 brokers. A little unnecessary, and partitions per. So the brokers get allocated to a partition, and they'll pretty much and that a message, because of the key, will get put in the same partition every time I'm aware of. So now that has appeared in partition 9, that in theory that will always get put in partition 9. Broker is the leader for the partition. So every broker can post it. Okay. I suppose the good thing here is I get to learn uh, more about how to configure Kafka. First outside real use. Nice. Yeah, you got a tester. Cool. Um, yeah, partition. I can't edit this consumer because it's with active consumer groups with active members cannot be edited. So can I stop this running? Stop all. There's no dark mode to this tool. I'm not installing a dark plugin because I dislike what they do. I always end up with text I can't read. Awesome. Here showed up for the first time. Decided to invest in trying it. Or from nice. Well, that's awesome that you got someone who's really trying to test it for you. Work with you there. Uh, cool. Okay. Will you let me edit it if yes? Now I can edit it. Okay. Now I can set okay, so now I can edit the oh, what? I can't reset the no. That's not good. So it's good that I can see where the partitions are. It's good that I can see where the lag is. I really need to be able to. Oh, hold on. Let's just. Oh, there we go. Lag. Okay. Okay. I was used to setting a number, and now that says how to the earliest. So that message will replay if I start up the. So on this, anything that consumes this message now, but will consume it again. This is, I want to set the view receiver um, being the one that's going. So what I'm gonna do is view receivers, initiative receiver. So this somehow didn't do what I hoped it would do. I didn't write any unit tests around this, so that's possibly the why. Danko, come in. Good. Gasp, good or gasp? It's hideous. Get it off me. Count this up. Why are you use C sharp? Why not use C sharp? Have your initiative. Is it? How so? We're collaborators. How is it a bad language? Says who? You got lots of studies to point to that tell me it's a memory inefficient language? What's your preferred language? Okay, cool. You like using Rust? Oh, that failed. Why? Initiative identifier. Well, I'm a fire tenant that creates identifier. Afternoon, Rambling Geek. Oh well. Is this because this hasn't been committed yet? Can I get? I use this method. Uh, um, so why don't you use Rust? Why don't you use C sharp? Right? Or why don't you use any other language? Um, so no, it won't. So I've been a developer for over 25 years professionally. A lot of that is in C sharp. So I have used other languages. C sharp has been the most productive language all around, the productive framework. Rust is relatively new on the scene. I've got a lot of experience in C sharp to work with. So again, I'd love to see. If you can point me to a lot of articles that show how badly uh, C sharp performs, considering it's in a lot of enterprise software, I'm more than willing to learn and understand that perspective. But at the same point, if I want to build something, 20 years of .NET development versus zero Rust development, I'm not going to be very productive, and I've got to weigh those up. Windows 11 is bad because no, and but Windows is not built on top of C sharp. Those are not those are not founded claims that I can tell. Um, yeah, parts of Windows use Go and Rust. Yeah, so Microsoft is shifting some of the tooling to Go from other languages, not uh, Sharp. But for the performance to ability of C sharp, it's a viable tool for me. No, really? We're gonna do this now? Is that a? I'm happy to learn. If you have articles that you can point to, you can't link them. You won't be allowed to link them. But if you can point me in the direction of somewhere that shows me that C sharp and Rust are a that my application will be 50 times better because I use Rust over C sharp, bearing in mind the technologies I'm using and the comfort I have with those technologies. Sometimes you've got to go with what you know. Right. Okay. He also says C++ is bad and build his own language. Right. So that's not a, just because he says it's bad, everything's about perspective. Everything's about what you can be productive in. I have got a long career in .NET and C sharp. I've got a lot of time invested in it, and I understand it better than other languages. So if I'm building something, why not build it something I'm very comfortable with? You know, we have the same disagreements, when we're joking about PHP or Java or whatever. C++ is not bad, and a lot of it is the developer is given the tools to shoot themselves in the foot. Right, that's the problem. If C++ was bad, it would not have been around for as long as it's been around developing software. Jonathan Blow is a very, very smart person, but um, no, I mean, I'm wanting to understand the arguments. I'm not trying to. I'm willing to talk about this because I think it is very important that you understand that just because someone else says something is bad doesn't mean you can't found your own opinions. You could get your own experience and learn why you prefer something. Don't just use a tool because someone says this is much better than someone else. So again, why not use? Is it Jai? Um, Jonathan Blow's language. Why not use that over Rust? Does he say Rust is bad as well, or why won't he use Rust or whatever? My tutor uses his PhD has advised me to avoid C sharp because it's incompatible with certain systems. I don't care if you have a PhD or you are a rocket scientist or whatever. Um, Tell me which systems they're incompatible with, because if they're basing that on .NET from over 10 years ago, that's a really old opinion. C Sharp runs on anything these days. Through cross-platform. Microsoft made that change over 10 years ago. It runs on embedded devices. It runs on Linux. It runs on Mac. It runs on Windows. It's not, you're not locked into an ecosystem, so your computer is wrong. Again, you got to form your own opinions. You got to listen to, get your own education. Yeah. Sony builds apps on iOS and Android. Right? Rambling Geek says he's built stuff on Raspberry Pis.
It clearly runs on other operating systems, other devices. But you shouldn't just dismiss another language, and especially come into a stream and immediately, uh, no, it's not. In certain things, yes, Rust is faster. I've done that research. And part of why I'm building this system the way I'm building it is so that I can actually do those things. I can test Rust later on. I can build a component of my system Rust if I have the time and verify those things for myself. And if it is significantly faster and I can write code that is readable and is manageable, then I wouldn't be opposed to it. That's growth. But right now, I'm trying to build something from the ground up, and starting a new language starts me on a back foot because I've got to learn a new language, new frameworks, new tools, a new environment, and I've got to understand all the differences. It will slow me down. Um, there's a lot of technology here, and I've looked at the numbers, and Rust is not significantly faster over C Sharp in certain areas. It is faster in areas, and it's slower in areas. Yeah. And Rust will give you your own ways of shooting yourself in the foot, just the same way C Sharp does when you used to go to more advanced tools. But if you're gonna pass an opinion, make sure it's your own opinion based upon experience. And I'm happy to listen to the opinion. You're more than welcome to it. But if you're hanging out in this stream, I use C Sharp. I build a large, complicated distributed system with lots of .NET and lots of technologies. I'm using SQL Server, MongoDB, um, Kafka, GraphQL. Um, I think a lot of people might join you there, but also um, pretty much everything we use day to day has JavaScript around it. So I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. Somehow it became the language of the browser. Um, yeah, you are more than welcome to hang out. I'm not going to, hold your opinions against you in that respect, and learn how I do things, right? And gain your own opinions that way. Arun, hello, welcome in. Rare, not as rare as they were. I'm starting to get, on a schedule again. How's it going? Okay, so the problem is update 9 again. Why? That's a really nice transition. That's nice. So the issue I have with this is I probably need to put in some level of commit. So when I get the receipt, when I receive the message, I've already committed back to Kafka that the message has been received. That's a problem. I probably need to wait for this to acknowledge because it marks it as done and it'll move on to the next message. So I'm clearly getting throughput at the cost of the errors it should. So this initiative receiver should I have to do receiver. So this update associated projects. This identifier is the identifier of the deliverable. If I create this, yeah, it works.
Okay, so that works. So what I'm doing is when I get in here, I'm acquiring the actual entity. And the problem is that the initiative receiver here, not this is erroring. Um, so if you are new to the stream, if you are interested in what I'm doing, you're more than welcome to ask questions. You are more than welcome to, I will show you around the application. I will show you the code or the pieces. It's not an open source project, but I'm happy to share what I do on stream. I do not have to be productive. Stream, so ask any questions. So I always say, I'm also learning too along the way. Learning new ways of doing things. I'm using the tools I know because I'm comfortable there. 5B41. So this initiative identifier there. This becomes that'd be a problem. Yeah, that'd definitely be a problem. uh, no, no. Logi's actually not very well right now. There'll be no treat, sadly. Uh, now I'm getting back into streaming. I will make the concerted effort. Doggo cam. I have plenty of cameras. Guarantee. Yeah, that's why I was yawning a lot. I've been up since 2 a.m. every like half hour. No need to be sorry, Janko. It's perfectly fine. Um, realize that just because someone says something doesn't mean that it's true. That you know, people are allowed their opinions. And Jonathan Blow saying C# is a bad language, his opinion. A lot of hard work's gone into C# and a lot of development is built around it. It can't be that bad. And so, as you grow, as you go through your career, um, don't be afraid to pick up other languages. Pick up what you want to pick up. And sometimes using another language will teach you more about the language you do like than you might think. Different patterns, different designs, different tools will give you insights that you might not have had. For example, I picked up Ruby uh, Rails when I was trying to get my head around MVC because Ruby's MVC implementation is a much cleaner, more consistent design, educated me a lot more on how that worked. And I was able to pick up MVC a little smoother. Tools I did use. So sometimes using another language will educate you in ways. Apex, hello, morning. How are you doing? So this is definitely an issue, but we'll assume that this was caused by a. Oh, oh, that's bad. That's so bad. Really hope this is. Might be about to get a big education in something I really didn't want an education in right now. Let's hope I'm wrong. So I have 3 brokers running. I don't normally run 3 brokers. The brokers should not capture
the same message. Brokers are there to distribute load. If each one of those brokers picked out that message and processed it, no, because they've only got one receiver running. It shouldn't round robin all the brokers. Why would it insert 3 records? Bad. I've got to believe that there was an error and it held on to something and inserted those. We're going to blindly believe that. Janko, if you are interested, if you ever want to ask questions, there is a Discord linked in the cards below. You're more than welcome to join the Discord. People share links in there to articles or ask your own questions as you're learning, as you're going through college. So more than welcome to hang out there and chat. And also the professor with the PhD who's saying that .NET doesn't run on certain systems probably needs an update on how .NET works. That's bad teaching. I think you have a responsibility to pass opinion, especially to students who might be picking what languages, what frameworks they use in careers. So you're at least correct on it. When he's tired. So we're going to test this. So what I'm hoping is that when I create this initiative, this will register only one on the view side. It only registered, well, it will only register one on the command side. On the query side, it shouldn't have hit 3 times. But if that message got put into all 3 partitions, even for 24 hours, coming some slack. No slack given. That was your choice. You get what you get. Please be one and only here once. So we're going to put Alan on it, then Andrew and Jeffrey and Samantha. Like that control. I don't like the shift. Create the initiative. Right. Get to topics. That will appear here. 7:34. There's our initiative. Ads will start in a few minutes. I need to do that's on partition 8. Consumer groups. There's our initiatives. One. It says one log message, which means it is only on one partition. I remember the breakpoint. Okay, so please be one. There we go. It worked. It didn't work. I'm an idiot. Erroring for different reasons. I'm an idiot. I don't have the update case on the other side. I'm not checking to see if I have the initiative. It's because there was 3. My brain, I knew there was 3 brokers. Like, no, that's not how Kafka works. So I'm just not thinking about my actual code.
I hadn't contemplated the use case. So these receivers have no knowledge of whether the thing exists or not. They just know that they've received a message. So this way, they can actually self repair. If you have data that is missing from here and you get a message for it, it will repopulate that data in the view. But it can kind of self repair. That's not the intended design, but it is a side effect of doing them the way these are done. Basically, in here, I need to check to see if there's an existing one and then update it or create it. That's what's going wrong because I'm just saying, oh yeah, just create it, it's fine. So tenant ID and owner ID always need to be these need to be fetched. What we're going to do there is do look back to my spy family. Enjoy, Stony. That method will be a full fetch associated. I think I called that last time. They always need to be fetched regardless of whether this exists or not. um, so what I'm working on right this second, I have an initiative. An initiative is a concept, an idea, a small piece system that you want to kind of focus on, and that you're going to start gathering information on and determining whether it's realistic and validating the actual idea. And this is aimed at tracking that validation. But it's not just hearsay. It's not just someone saying, uh, uh, um, this is an idea I heard from the customer, and I have to validate them. Okay, so I need to in here do bar existing wait pulses part versus hmm, you C# for 2 years. Okay, that's troll resistant max. I'll. It doesn't like the troll word, but yeah, I get it. That's funny. It allowed trolling, but it does. It's it's a very common thing in software development to have camps. Very common thing to have. You know, my language is better than yours, and I partake in it. Criticize PHP, even though it's not PHP. The language is not the problem. Um, but I partake in it. It's fine. Um, but I do genuinely believe that I would rather be productive than trying to learn two once. So again, I've used C# since early 2000s. So kind of um, initiative specs. I need specs specification. So this would be initiative by identifier. The spec is basically a query um, definition. This is Ardalis's um, Ardalis's no, that's not Vue. Yeah, Ardalis's specifications library. This gives me repositories around things, and it gives specs. And I like this because it means that I don't end up writing lots of link in the code. I just say, "Hey, go get this thing for me." it will um, it will neatly wrap up the query parameters, the joins, all that sort of stuff. So single result specification of, and let's take seconds, but grid identifier query where I goes to I dot identifier. That's it. I do want tracking in this case because I'm going to change it. So there's no so update initiative by identifier spec. That takes and dot identifier. So if existing is null, else else we're going to update it. In this case, I'm going to set existing dot is subjective equal. So the funny thing there is, in the past, I have. Well, it's not funny because I really shouldn't implement code that I've not actually got a need for yet, right? But the fact that I'm replaying these messages creates this problem. So, Drift, hello, welcome in. How you doing? And one thing to note as well is I'm not using AI extensively for coding on the back end. On the front end, to make me a little faster in an area that I am less comfortable with, I do use Claude and a Figma Make to get me the UI I want to be at. That is a personal choice. Um, the reason being I'm more comfortable with the back end and learning things I want to learn there from a technology perspective. We don't need to change date added, we do need to change last updated. Actually, in this case, that's the one thing I don't want to do. Yeah. So these events, if I replay them, they will replay and it will mark them as updated. Actually, recording that was yeah, I've got to decide how I want to do this because I don't need uh, a question about the C# code. I'm using a lot of interface in my TypeScript code. I think it's really helpful to try type every object. Sharp, not why. I mean, interfaces are useful in general, especially if you need to abstract away behavior or part implementations. There's a lot of interfaces in this application in general. Really helpful to type everything. I mean, it's not used. I mean, in C sharp, it's type safe language to begin with. So you end up with interfaces to be able to switch out. Yeah, I suppose in TypeScript you define it so you don't actually have to type. You define a concept. By the way, TypeScript and C sharp come from the same person. There's a lot of concepts that overlap. That's deliberate. So Anders Hallsberg is one of the leads of C sharp from when it was built, and he also built TypeScript for Microsoft. Yeah, they share some DNA there. But yeah, interfaces are very useful. Always. A lot of people have issues with creating. So when you're doing dependency injection, .NET specifically, a lot of people have issues with having. I don't know if I've got any good examples to hand here. ADB content, not really good examples here. But a lot of people have an issue with creating an interface purely for one implementation. Um, but when you get to unit testing, having interfaces rather than solid implementations is useful because you can mock those interfaces. So that's kind of where I use interfaces on that a lot. If I have a class that I need to inject things into, I can write unit tests around it if I can mock them. But if I actually insert the solid type, that is not as easy because .NET does not really support mocking, or the libraries that I know of. Maybe with CodeGen, it's a little different now, but they don't really support mocking solid implement. You end up with like an I whatever interface for an I whatever for whatever object, um, and that might be its only ever used. But I have used them extensively. I need to owner, requested date, start date, description, objective name. Tenant doesn't change. Those don't change. That's fine. Thank you for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome in. But update initiative now won't recreate things, right? I broke out this method. This is a pattern I've kind of started following. Yes, it ends up with a long tuple here. However, it does mean that I can just get those, and that's readable, right? So that's why I'm doing it that way. So I don't end up with this chunk of code at the top all the time. I have readability, and I can say, "Oh, tenant ID, owner ID. I want to fetch those associated IDs." Um, the data integrity. This acquire will create a record, a dummy record for that identifier. If the tenant hasn't been updated yet, the tenant details haven't been updated in the system yet, this will create a dummy record, which will then give me back a legitimate ID that I can now track. But later on, when that's updated, I'll now have uh, data integrity. I don't need to fill in the gaps. Okay, so that's that. But why didn't this actually work? Let's go back to receive. Change that back again. Uh, let's start that up again. Programming Snake from scratch. Nice. How'd that go? Yeah, exciting. Um, I would if I whenever you're writing, whenever you're building something, it's easy to build a lot of projects and never complete them. But if you find something that you actually enjoy and engage with, you will do better. Okay, so we have an initiative ID. Not error. Oh, or not. Or not. No? Okay. Facts. Doing my honest project and I just could not be bothered. Should have picked some. It's why I picked this. So I have two projects that I enjoy doing. One is game library because I love collecting games, physical games. So my game library projects are kind of uh, I've started many of them. Look at different perspectives, and I've done all sorts of stuff. I got really far on the last version, and then was like, nah, I don't want to do it this way anymore. But um, it means I can engage with it. It means I can keep going with it, and you can pretty much tell once you get past the initial phase of a project whether it's really like capturing your attention. Um, yeah, it's. Well, I would always recommend find something you care about, something that you actually can apply your knowledge to.
Um, because coming back to what we were talking about before, Janko, the when you're starting something, if you're starting with a brand new concept that you're not aware of, with a brand new language, that project's not off to the great start, right? Because you don't understand all the things you're trying to solve, or you don't understand the basics of what you're trying to solve. You're starting, like, if I go off and say, I'm going to build an accountancy tomorrow, right? I'm not an accountant. I've never done that sort of stuff. So I've got to learn how that works at the same time as learning how to translate those requirements to code to then build something. And I can't engage with that. Um, so you've got to be careful what you pick. And again, if I pick up another language at the same time, I'm learning in multiple ways. I don't even understand how to write the language to try and apply the concepts to a new language that I don't understand and build the thing built on understanding. So you got to pick your best route to success, and that's find something you care about that you understand or think you understand. But once you get past a lot of the building, you will find that you don't know as much as you did, and um, build it in a way you're comfortable with. Not everything's perfect, but yeah, hard to stick on projects. Congrats on finishing, but you'll have a long list of attempted and never completed projects. I can't make it. Yeah, I would bet. Lucky spot where I do think Claude Code to do 90% of the stuff for me. Yeah, still got to understand it though. You still should make sure you read it. It's hard to find a job in software development as a beginner, where I am. Because, yeah, that is a horrible thing. I really do believe that schools really should make a better effort to place people while they're in school. I'm a I'm a big believer in software development being an apprenticeship. I think they should be establishing those relationships pretty early on, and at least 2 years of a 4-year degree should be actually in uh, employment. So, for reference, I do not have any qualifications, but I do not have any formal qualifications in software development. I've been a developer since the late 90s. I've been building web and mobile systems for a variety of industries over the time. So my experience is all self-taught. But I've also suffered the not getting a job because I don't have a degree. Was that an interesting game engine program? I mean, game in my nice, awesome. That is really good. Congrats. Um, you learn so much more than that way. You need really use stuff. But a schedule out there, Noah. I pinged in the Discord. Mondays and Thursdays, 7 till 8:30, and Wednesday evenings till 9. Um, yeah, I genuinely think that getting developers to work with other developers would make uh, better quality software overall. Yesterday would have helped me have a regular, but imposter syndrome is so real sometimes. Absolutely. It doesn't go away, by the way. It still happens. They're waiting for it to disappear. Okay, so that one clearly failed. So, like, the, the thing I learned in uni was really useful. I didn't even need to while I was there. I just actually learned that on in draft. Uh, what was particularly no vibe coding on. um, I think I think it's a great attribute to be able to not just be a
Um, I think school teaches you a lot of vocabulary. Teaches you a lot of, and again, no formal education, so my opinion here is very much with a grain of salt. Um, but it teaches you how to talk about the technologies in the words. It teaches you how to understand some of the concepts, but to use the concepts, I think you need experience, like algorithms and stuff like that, data structures, etc. You kind of use them by virtue of the language you're using, and algorithms. You're not often, more often than not, writing pretty much boilerplate code. If you're doing application development, I suppose if you're doing game development, you probably have a lot more algorithms and stuff to do. But yeah, it was Unibot. What they don't know can't hurt them. Like it can't. What effort is being put into that by the day? But a bit of experience can't hurt. Okay, so we have an initiative ID. Does it give us the right ID? So yeah, 7,006. 7,006 using collaborators. Requested start date. You got that part. We got our initiative with our owner. Fine. They also found college to be pretty useless to learning computer science. Lecture settings just can't substitute working on it. Yeah. Especially if you're going into application development, software development in a business environment, a lot of what we do is understanding the domain. It's understanding, having a domain knowledge, understanding how the business works and what they actually need. And that's, you can't learn that in school because there's no applicable like snippet. Um, at least if you were in an apprenticeship, you would be able to um, sit with real development teams, sit with real product teams, understand how requirements gathering works, understand how delivery works, the challenges that come along with it, and learn while you're learning those things in school, and probably apply some of these things. You also may realize not all students are coders, some of them go to IT, etc. Yeah, some of them it's just a job as well. Thank you for the follow, Janko. Appreciate it. But okay, so is this failing problem happening? Update initiative. Let's remember that stepping into code is associated. Um, well, that was right, was it? A, my copy and paste failed. Elaborate. Second, A, and second. Oh, we're doing well today on this. So that failed because the collaborators uh, public TV set. Look through the views of my best practices documentation about my opinion. Apologies had more engagement. Form some opinion. Dev team. Majority of the text was factual based on cost. Mm-hmm. Collaborator. Try that once more. Again, I think I've got to put in a mechanism where It doesn't auto commit. So with Kafka, if you have one topic, if you have a topic with one partition, one broker, and several consumers, they'll stack up behind each other for that message. If you have multiple brokers, each broker, I believe, can serve the messages to the consumers. The scale outs slightly different. Get myself on that. Um, but when you get a message, though you commit that you've got that message, it won't move on. So you're kind of blocked getting the next message, even if things are happening, asynchronous things are happening. Um, so I obviously commit the fact that I've pulled the message out of Kafka for this consumer before um, before I should. Because when I end this, it shouldn't have committed it, right? It should just be able to restart. But I clearly commit it because this resets every time. So that was failing in the fact that it didn't have knowledge of that table. The initiative collaborators table was not in the DB set, for which I well, this now should work. Collaborators will start to. Um, Over the next few weeks, my intention with this is to kind of get these initiatives, the initiative flow functional, make it a little bit smarter, try to work on the requirements gathering phase there. Requirements being, and that's going to be a hard piece to test because I don't have anyone available to do that with right this second. I don't have anyone to drill into those initiatives and validate them. But at the same time, I kind of want to build out the basics of that, so that at least the ideas there. I'm going to have to figure out the balance of um, how much I'm building. Okay, so we got our collaborators. There's no collaborators. Don't remove anything. Awesome. Now we apply collaborators. Identifiers, we have 3. I can change this to a bulk insert. Collaborator ID. We have key. Ooh. So now, here, records. That is great. 9 breakpoints. And I can change that to be a query that pulls all the collaborator IDs, then does a bulk insert rather than do it by one. That's not the most. But then it's only 2 or 3 records, maybe a dozen, to kind of make sure everyone's involved in a project. The owner and collaborator of the initiative is basically points of contact and people who want to be kept in touch with anything relating to this initiative. Um, so my plan is to make notifications granular, so you can drill down into the fine detail of a single planning item or a single deliverable and say, "Hey, I care about this field changing on this thing," or you can go to the top level and say, "Just let me know of in an email summary of all the things that happened on here," and get it that way. So I have plans granularity. Yes. So Kaizu. Again, if you're interested in learning more about the code, if you're interested in learning more about how a lot of these things come together, technologies I've used, you're more than welcome to ask, dig into things. Want me to look at anything specific? Fine. So we have collaborators. There we go. Yes. Now this one, oh, this is alphabetical. How should I sort these? Probably don't. Let's do something. Um, so on the client, my workflow is definitely AI driven. Not again, I accept that my weakest area that I am going to move faster if I can get past the UI area, the UI UX area first. So what I'm going to do there is I'm going to paste that oh, as um, ID. Happens here. So we're going to be a bit adventurous. We're going to try and implement quite a large UI component, Claude and Figma. So again, I'm using Figma here because Figma gives me the design piece, and then I'll point Claude to that and say, now implement this. So far, it's been pretty good at relatively small commits. Use Copilot to what it is changed in this. Add detailed screen structure and guidelines. Design system documentation. So what that means, by the way, the fact that collaborators showed there means that the code I wrote last night, um, all the view code just worked. That's the test information that that's working. Deliverables working away. Let's see how it does. Because what I'll do is I'll literally give Claude this. They go and implement. So now that says filter. That gives me the filtering. I, I. I like how it does it anyway. That's hilarious. So this actually does build a set of React components. I can actually go and look at the code. Oh, they changed the buttons. The code is over here now. It used to be up there, but now that's an actual React application that all the parts are. I want to. Watch, I'm using Angular. Um, that's a whole different set of debates and arguments over what's best. So now what I do is I'll click share and copy that link. Now in Claude, I'll show you my Claude prompt. I just got to remember to turn that off. I don't see it in the corner of my eye. So, challenge. I got to do this. Nope, still not displaying. Oh, there we go. All those YouTube viewers, I don't want them to. or they're not part of the chat. I need to figure out how to get. I can read both, but everyone can. So Restream will at least make that. What we're going to do here is I would like to filtering ability. You can reference. I'll just give it the link to the Figma doc that is in my account. It's all through with that, so it's fine. Reference. Okay. Let's see what happens there. I haven't had much of a problem with it basically overriding um, overriding the style based upon what Figma comes out with. Because even though I've fed a screenshot that's from the application into Figma, Figma's disregarded those pieces and just developed a UI, and it's kind of but you're going to get a lot of the UI looking the same. That's going to happen time and time again. What happens here is Claude goes off and gets images of things and analyzes them and tries to work out how to build those components, and we'll go and actually implement design. I'm okay with the slide out. Slide out will work even on a mobile device. Not the primary concern here, but yeah, it is a concern. When you're doing a planning application, considering uh, considering mobile devices, I don't think is necessarily your first should be your first plan because there's a lot of information. It would be a mistake. I don't think so. I haven't tried it. I think there might be a mobile version, um, but I don't think the site scales itself to mobile very well. Again, it's a lot of information. it's it's how do you make that mobile compatible? Gotta hide information or hide panels or whatever, and you with a lot less to display. So I think um, I think for Kaizu, I think the benefits would be reading discussions, reading any feedback or whatever on review, because my thought is that if I go into planning an item, of course I keep picking the item. I need to clear out everything, build items that demonstrate the ideas because a lot of the data is test data that's been built. Yeah, okay, so allow estimation on tasks. Actually one that I thought through, demonstrate. So, so the idea again would be before once the requirements are added, they'd be marked as for review. So you don't get to this phase until they're agreed upon, right? So once people say, yeah, requirements make sense, whatever, but I want to start discussions off of these discussions here would probably chain into that. So I'm still trying to figure out what the right way of pulling them together is, but I want to be able to say there's some questions or problems with the requirements. So allowing the more asynchronous process. So once this goes for review, development teams that are engaged with it, if there's projects assigned, etc., there would always be projects assigned. I just remembered. Again, I did it again. Yeah, so when you go into a requirement, you can add discussion to the requirement while it's in review, and that would tie together. So um, that might be useful from a mobile perspective because it is a more asynchronous possibility. Notifications, definitely a thing to have on a mobile. Um, Yeah, we will. We will tackle that later. Maybe the ad notifications in my mobile app. I don't know if it's. I've got to. I've got to get better at evaluating and prioritizing ideas that could go somewhere, or ideas that I might be able to validate pretty quickly once I've got something in front of people. So again, my goal right now is to build out initiatives enough to demonstrate the concepts, and at that point, deploy it and um, start building again using the app to dog food the app, and then get delivery figured out from a workflow perspective. Because right now, a lot of these statuses are just statuses for the sake of statuses, right? I have again, I'm not making them configurable. The status is the status, the flow is the flow. So the implementation flow is defining, ready for review, work planning, in implementation, awaiting delivery, delivered, right? So uh, the flows are, um, but once I can get through an initiative to the delivery, um, then I'm going to say that is good enough to let out and let people really try to play with it. Let me write the final plan. So you don't need to see Claude um, doing its thing on the screen. But with anything interesting, I'll bring it back. But I've got to decide what is a stretch and what is a real goal. Getting the initiative stuff in there helps me establish my vision. Right? The why. Why are we doing this thing? That's kind of what initiative really solves. Like establishing that we definitely have interest in doing this thing, and that we are going to worry about ads, looking at ads. Now Claude's going to make some changes. Um, Planning. What do we need to do? What do we expect to see? How do we expect to see it? Any wireframes? As long as the system can support that, then I think that's a useful thing. Um, Even discussions don't need to be figured out. Meetings doesn't need to be figured out beforehand. That might just be a fun little side quest to be able to schedule a Teams meeting. Going into implementation, can I go through that process? Um, yes, so I agree. 6 months. Even, I mean, 3 months will be your ultra detailed plans. Like you'll actually understand what the work is going to kind of look like. Um, 1 year out, definitely could live in initiatives in the exploring and committed phases, um, but they don't need to be delivered. They don't need to be in progress or planned out until you're. Um, I think it's worth having the ideas there. I just don't think it's worth. Um, yeah, and that's why they should live there. They should be things that you can be. Again, review date will probably appear on here as well. Um, um, Review date will probably be making a piece here because again, you want to say, hey, I want to let's review this in another year, or let's review this in. Right, you want it to kind of pop back up in vision. Um, but yeah, from a workflow perspective, if I can take it from the idea through the planning through the requirements building and the tasking out, and then the tasking actually implement. And I have done it, right? I've done it before. It's not like the platform can't support that piece. Um, the challenge will be picking a. Oh wow, that's how we've done it. That's how we implemented that. That's okay. You see, Claude just completely interpreted that in a different way than where I was going. Interesting. It's consistent with the other screens. It's not like it's um, a shock. Well, that was the design given, and I said, um, read the Figma, but also respect our guidelines, our style guidelines. It, it understood the mission from the Figma side. However, it implemented it in the style of the application. So it decided that what we have, hate that. I don't like the idea that I've got to turn off a plugin. But I don't like the idea that I've got to turn off a plugin because it will not respect a autocomplete. It's wired into that. So if there we go, we've got that. Nice. Worry about caching that. Quite fascinating though. So it hasn't put a date range. Fungus. Oh. Okay. Well, we've made progress. That's for certain. I've made the progress today. All right, off to work again. So, thank you for coming and hanging out. I appreciate it. Great day at work. Um, okay. Yeah, if anyone's interested, if anyone wants to know more about this project, if you want to learn more about why or how, there is a Discord linked in the cards below. You're more than welcome to join the Discord and hang out and chat. I do hang out there quite regularly in the voice chat if you're quite interested in speaking to other human beings. Um, or even just hanging out. Some people actually have hung out before and listened to it like it's a podcast. When we get started on talking about software development, so some people do just hang out in there. Um, but I'm happy to talk about stuff. If you have your own projects you want to share, if you want to ask questions on our advice, there are. There's not. It's not a big Discord server, but there are some talented developers in there. Okay, so what's next? I need to be able to edit one of these. But the estimate is a calculated value that comes from once I start adding estimate deliverables, um, these things happen. So the idea would be, from a workflow perspective, once you start an initiative, using collaborators, right? Start an initiative, and the show collaborators on the screen because they aren't much use otherwise, right? So you have a business objective. That's how to use Blast. Come on, Imojo. Um, uh, um, if I was doing it right, I'd enable a bot that I could set a countdown at the right time. And Blast would only become available at that point. You'd have to require writing a bot. So from here, I'm going to add a deliverable. The deliverable will be editing collaborators. the assigned product manager here is going to be Jeffrey. Assigned project next. Right, and sample project and planning that way. The review date, we'll review that on, it's March next week. We'll review that on our initiative is already assigned for us. That's good. I want to review that right now. And it's I'm going to save that. We now have editing initiative collaborators. So you should see the basics of the deliverables here. Ultimately, more information would show once we get to like, what state it is in? Like right now it says defining. So now when I go into that one, that's marked as defining. High risk because I've got a review date of March 2nd. No work attached to it. So then, where's my add requirements button gone? Backlog. March 2nd. Do I not have permissions to edit requirements? Interesting. Well, in theory, it would work. So, yeah. I feel lacking a button. Awesome. Okay. Well, we'll go with that for now. So, overall success for the stream. We have had a really great discussion, a couple of really great discussions. So I hope to see you guys again. This has been a lot of fun. Again, you're more than welcome to hang out in the Discord, discuss various things. And yeah, so I'm going to finish up here. I will be back again next week. My stream schedule is Monday, Tuesdays. Which day did I pick? Mondays, Tuesdays. Yeah, the stream schedule that I can't remember all of a sudden. Monday and Thursday. So I do Mondays and Thursdays, 7 will 8:30 EST, and I do Wednesday evening 6 or 9. So good afternoon. I was good to stream. Lauren, thank you very much. And it's 8:30 in the morning for me. So accent does elsewhere. So appreciate it. Appreciate you guys hanging out. Appreciate the discussions. Thank you very much for being level-headed in our yep. So let's go. Talking of game developers, I don't think I've rated him in a while. Let's go raid Beegs. He's probably Biggs is developing a game, making a commercial game in 8 weeks. Yes, I'm dumb. That's his title. Voice. We'll go raid Biggs, and we will. I just raid it. Did I just get out my? Yeah. So I'll be back on Monday. Over the weekend, I will probably get a lot more stuff done on the gives. Hopefully. Yeah. Again, thank you for joining me. Thank you for hanging out. Take care. Bye all.